Okay, so last time we saw how we could use Excel to calculate the mean, median, mode, and range. Now we're going to turn our attention to the standard deviation, which is a measure of the variability of our observed data around the calculated mean. This little graphic here shows us that if the black line represents the mean, one standard deviation, represented by the red, says that 68% of all the observations will be within one standard deviation. So that should be pretty acceptable if our cubes are with one standard deviation. At two standard deviation, 95% of the value should fit within that. And we're going to use two standard deviations as the upper and lower limit of what the acceptable cube size is for our puzzle cube. Any cube that measures beyond two standard deviations, plus or minus two standard deviations, we're going to reject because it's probably going to result in a poor fit for us. Okay, so let's figure out how to calculate. Let's use Excel to do that. So x minus the mean. So this is the x value, and we have to subtract the mean from it. So we're going to type in equals x minus point to the mean. It's right here. Press enter. As you know, we can copy the formulas that we create down, but let's see. I want to show you something. Look what happens. It goes from thousands, all of a sudden it gets them to cube sizes. What's going on? Well, what's happening is that Excel, as you copy things, adds a level to it. So when we go to the next cell, it adds 1 from D4 to D5 and from I5 to I6. If we look at what's in cell I6, it's not the mean anymore, it's the median. So we have to tell Excel not to change the address for the mean. So we're going to use go up here and notice that I put the cursor in front of I5, and I'm going to press the F4 key. And F4 will put two little dollar signs in front of the I and the 5, meaning that this is an absolute cell reference. We don't want Excel to add or change that reference as we copy the formula. So I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to copy this down. And see, in this last cell here, it's saying take what's in D11, which is what we want, and subtract from it what's in I5, and I5 is the mean. So that's a good formula. So we're going to copy it down. And now over here, I want to take this value that we just calculated and square it. So I'm going to use the equal sign, point to the value, use the little caret above the 6, type in 2 for squaring, and copy or press enter. And now I'm going to copy this formula all the way down. I don't need to create a absolute cell reference because Excel, it's an absolute number, so I don't need to change anything. But what I do need to do at this point is add all of these up. And I'm going to go back to my little formula bar, take auto sum from here, and Excel is really smart. It says, hey, if you wanted to sum things up, they're right above me, right? And you say, yep, that's where I want it. Okay, so that's this part of the expression, the sum of the observed values minus the mean squared. Now we need to get n minus 1, which is equal to 27 minus 1. Press that, that's n 26. And this before cell is what's inside the square root before we take the square root. So I want to take the sum of the squares is equal to this number, and I want to subtract from it, or excuse me, not subtract, divide. I want to divide by n minus 1 because it's a sample. And now I need to take that result and take its square root. To get the square root, I have to show you a new thing in Excel, which is this Formulas tab. If I click on Formulas, I get this little FX, which stands for Insert Function. And here I need to find out what's the square root. I'm going to press Go, and there it is, SQRT. I say, okay, great, that's what I want. And it's saying, well, what number do you want the square root of? Well, I want that number, right? Because that's the number I just calculated. So I'm going to click OK, and I get this result, 0.0379. So that is the standard deviation. One standard deviation is 0.0379. So if I were to go over here now, take a look at this and say, hey, I want to take the mean is equal to this plus 1 standard deviation. I'll point to the standard deviation and do that. So 1 standard deviation is at the upper limit is 0.7553, and 2 standard deviations is going to equal the mean plus, and now I need parentheses because I'm going to do an order of operations, 2 times, right, the standard deviation. So I'm going to point back there, close the parentheses, and press enter. So anything between 0.7553 and 7592, let's shorten that down. Oops, wrong direction. Anything bigger than 0.7591 I don't want to have in my cube. Now let's go in the other direction. And I'm going to copy this form. Well, I don't want to copy the form yet, but I want to do the same thing, except this time I want to subtract. I want to take the mean minus 1 standard deviation. And over here the same thing. I want to take the mean minus 2 times the standard deviation. I'm going to point to it instead of typing it in. And change my numbers so that they're not so huge. Okay, so now anything that is bigger than 0.7591 or less than 0.7440 I should reject. And now I can look over here at my list. Do I have anything that fits that category? Well, here's one. Cube number 5 is probably no good. What else? 7591. I don't think I have anything like 76. If I had anything like 76, I'd probably get rid of it. Do I have anything else that's like 744? Nope. So it looks like I just need to replace one cube. And that's what the standard deviation will tell us, is point out how much our information is varying around the mean, and we can set a limit like 2 standard deviations as being an acceptable range, and then anything that's outside of it we can reject as not being within the quality standards we're interested in. Okay, one last thing before we go, and that is if you added the data pack from Excel, we can get all this information this way by going up to Data, scrolling over to Data Analysis. We want to choose Descriptive Statistics, click OK. It's saying, well, where's the data that you want me to analyze? Well, here it is. We'll highlight our X values. We're going to click on an output range. Well, where do you want it to go? Well, I've set this little blue area up for us to put the data in. And we want to make sure we check summary statistics. Okay? If I do that, Excel will automatically there just calculated the mean, the median, the mode, the standard deviation, the range, and so on for me. And you can compare these to the other calculations we did. So there's 2 ways to get this information. One, I think it's important for you to know how to do it manually using all the tools of Excel, because not all computers will be able to have this data analysis pack. Next thing we're going to do is take a look at how to make a histogram. Okay? So see you next time.